Congressman Green, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Congressman Green, what is your main priority as chair for the House Committee on Homeland Security during this current session?
Well, our number one priority is to secure our southern border. I mean, we have lots of national security threats that impact our jurisdiction on the Committee of Homeland Security, but none is more urgent, more emergent than our open southwest border. And so that is, getting a border security bill passed that would compel the administration to execute security on that southern border well was our number one priority. Within that, it means taking care of the technology, taking care of the infrastructure, and of course, taking care of the people. And there were several different initiatives that we moved forward in each of those three categories.
What is the one thing you're working on at the House Committee on Homeland Security that is not receiving enough media exposure, in your opinion?
That's a great question. I think we're currently, so we passed that border security bill. So we took priority number one. We built an incredibly successful border security bill. Many different actions that we took under those three categories I just mentioned, and we got that passed about, I think it was probably 6 weeks ago. Now we're diving into holding Secretary Mayorkas and President Biden accountable for just what that open border has done to America. And I think the fact that 12,000 Chinese nationals have come across our southern border, the sector chiefs have told us that known military-aged men with ties to the PLA have just been released into the country as a part of the asylum process. I think that's not getting enough attention. I think the fentanyl deaths not getting enough attention. I think the real crux of the problem for me is that Secretary Mayorkas just thinks he can disregard the laws passed by Congress. And a cabinet secretary, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that they get to just pick and choose which laws they're going to enforce. And I find that as a real threat to the Constitution itself, to the foundation of our government, which is separation of powers. Our founders were brilliant. They recognize that when you concentrate power into the hands of a few, and in the case of a monarch one, you get tyranny. And so they spread power out between three separate branches of government and, of course, between federal, state, and local. That 10th Amendment is pretty clear. If it's not enumerated in the Constitution, it belongs to the states. So this secretary has just totally disregarded the founding concept of our entire government. He's ignoring the laws passed by Congress. I don't think anyone's really talking about that, and we should be.
Why does it matter that countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, and Algeria are attempting to join BRICS, the economic bloc led by China? And what do you think needs to be done about the potential expansion of BRICS?
Yeah, so this is a huge threat to the United States because our currency as reserve currency allows us to do a couple of things. One, it allows us to print dollars and sell our debt. And if we can't sell our debt to overseas countries because they've converted to a different currency for world trade, then we can't deficit spend, which means a massive cut in spending across the board. So very clearly, the BRICS countries coming together with an announcement, I guess it's in August the 26th, of the announcement of a potential BRICS, digital currency that would be backed by gold. That is undermining the economic power of the United States and the ability of our government to compete with our near peers, China and of course, Russia more strategic because of its nuclear arsenal, but clearly China is competing across the globe to change the rules of the international based world order. So, we can't lose the dollar as the reserve currency. The more countries that join into this BRICS coalition, the more damning it is to the dollar and thus the stability of the United States.
Practically speaking, now that Sweden is on path to join NATO, what does that mean for global security?
Yeah, I mean, when Finland and Sweden decided to join NATO, that is a huge, defeat for Putin from a strategic standpoint. The benefit for the United States, of course, is Finland and Norway have, they have not Norway has the access, but those are Arctic countries. And the amazing thing about it is now 7 of the countries that border are allied with the United States. So this conquest of the Arctic becomes a huge win for us to have them join NATO. In terms of what it means for Russia, clearly the Finns have a huge border with Russia, and to have a NATO country there, that's adds to the security of the alliance itself, and I think weakens Putin from a strategic perspective. But he is so far back on his heels from his failure in Ukraine. I'm not sure it's a near-term impact. It's more of a long-term impact.
In your opinion, what is the single greatest weakness of the U.S. military?
Weakness is clearly recruiting, although I think there's been some very small signs of improvement. I would say the recruiting issue is our greatest challenge, because our greatest strength has always been, the American people, the sons and daughters who join our military and lead it. So I would say recruiting is probably our biggest issue, but a very close second is our inability to for the industrial complex to expand the diameter of the pipeline in a flexible, rapid way. I think the issues with Ukraine and supplying the Ukrainians with military arms has shown us that we have got to fix the diameter issue on our pipeline, our military industrial complex.
Similarly, what is the single greatest strength of the U.S. military?
Well, I would submit that we're still incredibly strong as a force. And so I believe in the leadership that we have, short of a couple of individuals. But I'm confident that we have the best military in the world, the most capable military in the world. And, it's not as good as it could be, and it's not as good as it needs to be. So those are the challenges. But the current structure of the force is ready to go and fight. And the American people should know that.
What is the next generation national security threat that nobody is talking about right now?
That no one is talking about, I think there is AI and quantum that will significantly change, those technologies will significantly change warfighting. Clearly, cyber, we're all pretty much aware now of the cyber domain, but how they'll be enhanced by AI and quantum computing, we're still trying to get our heads around that. The enemies, so to speak, or the competitors. China, that issue with China is going to be the preeminent competition for the next 100 years. The challenge that we're not talking about, though, is, as much as we should, is how advances in technology like AI and quantum computing are going to impact that interface. So I think we need to be out there more, particularly at CISA, which is in my domain, the Cyber Infrastructure Security Agency. That those guys have got to be thinking about what defending against cyber means in a quantum world. And I think they are. There've been some statements from CISA on this and from the cyber office at the White House. So but not enough, and we need to do more.
Congressman Green, thank you for being here, and thank you for your bluff.
Yeah, thanks for having me.